I'm here with Craig Young, who's the CEO of Telecom Users Association of New Zealand. Craig, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Whereabouts are you based? Are you
Auckland.
You're in Auckland,
Yeah.
so not a windy trip down to Wellington?
It came down yesterday and was probably the best landing I've had for a long time, actually.
Right,
It was a beautiful day.
Yeah. So tell us about yourself, Craig. What's your background?
My background is I've been in Telco since around about late 1999. I don't know if many people remember the Y2K issue.
Oh, yes.
So I got in just at the beginning of that.
So I bought the book, and I changed my computers.
Yeah.
I did the whole thing. I was quite nervous about it.
Well,
Expected the world to crash.
Well, I was working for Clear Communications, and we spent I don't know how many millions of dollars making sure nothing happened. It was one of the most unexciting projects because you didn't want anything to happen and nothing happened. So was that because you spent all that money or just because it wasn't going to happen?
Did anything?
No.
Nothing did actually happen,
No.
and it wasn't going to happen
Well, we don't know.
because we spent all the
Because
money.
we spent all the money to make
We
sure
should
it
have had a
didn't.
controlled experiment.
We should have had something somewhere that, yeah, that's right.
Damn.
Yeah, so I've been in Telco since '99. I was with Clear, probably one of the few people around that have been through a merger and then a demerger. So I was at Clear when we merged with Telstra Saturn to form Telstra Clear. And then I moved over to Chorus when it was first set up.
Yep.
And then I went through the demerger of Chorus from Telecom, which is now Spark, of course.
Yeah, and I think that's where I first met you because
Yeah.
I run the Rural Broadband Initiative Advisory Committee.
National Advisory Committee.
National Advisory Committee.
And I was the person at Chorus responsible for managing that group.
Yeah, that was a very interesting group to be getting information from. You know, it was a very, it's been an interesting journey.
And what happened with that is when we demerged from Telecom, someone had to pick up some of the stuff that Telecom corporate used to do around rural broadband, and this project, the RBI 1 project, which Telecom had signed up to, went with Chorus. And I mistakenly, foolishly, cleverly, one day said to my boss, no one's looking after this rural stuff. You know, we should really have a strategy and approach, and someone needs to look after this National Advisory Group. And of course, as soon as you say that, my boss said, well, you'd be quite good at that,
Never
wouldn't you? So why don't
volunteer
you
for
do that?
anything, my dad told me.
I've learned that now, that's right. But given how I don't come from a rural background, but always been fascinated and interested in rural New Zealand, and you know, because it's the backbone of the New Zealand economy. Having an economist background, it's probably the best thing I ever did because I've loved the 3.5 years so far of being involved with rural groups.
Yeah.
So far that I'm members of some of the rural groups. You may laugh, but I'm actually a paid-up member of Rural Women New Zealand.
Right. Very good.
Call out to the ladies in Telco because that's where I'm a member of.
Yes.
Yes, where do you go from that?
You've thrown me.
Right.
You entered the Eurovision Song Contest as well.
Although with a beard, I could probably get away with it,
Okay. So tell us about the Connectivity Symposium tomorrow.
So it's really interesting how that came about. So I left Chorus and joined TUANZ as the CEO. And TUANZ has been around for 27-something years. And was set up in the old days of the post office where there was no competition for telecommunications in New Zealand. Those of us who remember those days remember you had to wait weeks and months to just get a telephone installed.
Yes.
So they deregulated the market, all sorts of changes happened. TUANZ was there all the way through, fighting the good fight, educating, informing. And it's like any membership organisation has its ups and downs, and we're going through a bit of a down at the moment, but it was quite a leader at one point in rural broadband. So it ran some significant conferences around the years 2008 to 2011.
Yeah.
And when I took over in October last year, I did a members survey, like any good new CEO does. He goes out and talks to people, and then we did a survey. And lo and behold, my mainly urban membership said rural broadband's still an issue that we think TUANZ should be taking some leadership in.
Wow.
And so at the beginning of the year...
Why do you think that is?
Oh, for a couple of reasons. I think one of it's altruistic in that urban people know that their broadband's getting sorted by the fibre rollout.
Yeah. And
New Zealand by its nature sort of likes to think of itself as a rural country, whereas we're not, we're heavily urbanised. But, you know, so that obviously it resonates.
Yes.
It's the Kiwi thing.
Yeah.
And secondly, which came home to me when I was talking to a rather large prospect, a insurance company actually. And they said, we're keen on better broadband in rural New Zealand because it costs us 2 to 3 times the amount of money to serve a rural customer interaction than it does an urban. Because the urban guys can do it through the internet, through the website.
Isn't that
the rural guys have to ring, or we have to go and see them, and we can't do the same stuff with them.
And rural communities are saying exactly the same thing. We can see how having good connectivity improves the livability of your community, and it's about those sorts of things. It's about being able to access basic services easily, as well as run your business well. So that I find that very heartening that urban membership identified that rural connectivity as one of the high priorities.
We're strongly a business membership, so we're pro-business, obviously, and our 99% of our funding comes from corporates and government departments. So we are heavily in that space. So obviously, if it's important to them, then it's important to us. And me personally, with my background, I sort of snuck it in there to see if it came out. I thought it might come out somewhere like 10th or 11th, but no, it came out as very high. In fact, it and international connectivity were two of the most important topics that the membership wanted us to focus in on 2015.
Yeah.
So with my connections with you through the advisory group and knowing a little bit about RANZ, it seemed to me that RANZ was a good group for us to talk to as being like-minded, as being a representative group. So you've got groups, you've got feds, you've got rural women, you've got the GPs and all those sorts of things. It made sense to work with RANZ, and so we had a conversation at some point, maybe January, February, where we said this would be a good idea to run a symposium because we want to take some leadership in the space. We want to get back into the event space, but we want it to be about a collaboration between those of us that know a bit about the industry and what we can deliver and what rural users actually think and want. It's not enough for us as an organisation to think we know what rural users want. We actually need to find out. And to do that, we needed to work with a group, an organisation like RANZ that would help bring that voice. And so that's how it came about.
Yeah. So what's going to happen with the symposium? What's the process?
Right, so we've sort of split it into two halves. So the morning is about what's there now and what's been done to date. Apart from the Minister. So Minister Adams, the Minister for Communications, will open the session, and I've asked her to talk about the government's desire around what's happening next. And she's very keen to take questions because she's very keen to get interaction going. And then it's about, the importance of the sector, what's been done, what the demand levels are out there, because there has been quite a bit of work done. A little bit about telehealth, what's been done on telehealth. So we've got Dr. John Garrett speaking, and a little bit, and also Vodafone talking about what they've delivered to date. And then we've got a working session to try and capture some of the thoughts and ideas that people have got around what's the issues, the current issues they want solved. The afternoon is more about what does the future look like. So one of the other messages that very strongly came out from my members is we're concerned about the future. What is coming? What are we going to do with it? How do we make the most of it? So the afternoon is about, what's the future mobility look like? What's the future satellite look like? Can we do fibre to the farm? What are other options that we can do in broadband? So while the presentations are quite telco focused or infrastructure focused, it's about educating and informing people, so you know what you can and can't do. And then we've got a long breakout session where in groups we'll be asking people to think about taking all the information you now know and what you brought with you, where should we be encouraging the government to spend the 150 million they've now allocated for the next 3 years? And so the outcome or the output of the session is between our two organisations being able to express to the government as part of their current RBI Rural Broadband 2 process what rural users are actually wanting the money to be spent on. And it could be, I have no idea what it's going to come out of. It could be mobile, incredibly fantastic mobile coverage for every ambulance in rural New Zealand. It could be fibre to every farm, which unfortunately with 150 million you're not going to be able to do. But you know, that's the sort of, we've got to test that tomorrow.
Does it cover cell phone sort of coverage as well? Is that part of this, this
so
conversation?
The questions can cover that as well.
Yeah.
The process is a little bit interesting the way the government's running it, because while we can do a national gathering tomorrow and talk about some national things and some perhaps national priorities, the actual locations that people might want. So, for example, in the mobile black spots program, we couldn't tomorrow say to the government from our symposium, you should do Ohope, you should do Potiki, so I'm picking on your area, we should do Te Kaha or things like that.
Tirahonga is the place. I was there yesterday with a patient who'd collapsed. No cell phone coverage. Ambulance couldn't, the address was really vague. You know, we basically had to rely on somebody standing on the side of the road waving a red towel. You know, and it was. It's very telling. And it's a safety issue.
It is, and that's an example where local people know those sorts of things. And so the input that's going to have to go back to the government is going to have to be from our session tomorrow is more around, here's how you prioritise spending the money. This is what I think it's going to come out at. See how it works. Here's how we think you should prioritise the money. Listen to the community as to what they want and where they need it, and then prioritise it. You know, in the way we've suggested. And so the discussions I already had with MB, they're very keen to hear this. And look, by the number of people coming tomorrow and the fact that we've got a waiting list of, you know, over 20 people wanting to come. I mean, I've just been to an event where people came up to me and said, I can't get in tomorrow. Surely you can sneak me in. And it's like, no, I'm sorry, we've had to draw the line. It's obviously a hot topic and an issue that people see a lot of opportunity in, and you know, but also a lot of need. So it's exciting and well done for you know, for leading it. You know, thank you for you know, so making this happen along with RANZ. You know, it's I think you know, it's great to have. People like yourself, organisations like TUANZ, out there, you know, focusing on the needs of the wider community. So, you know, thank you very much. That's all right. Thank you, Joe.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I.